Hi, if you want the quick gist of this video instead of watching like 20 minutes of like tips and tricks or whatever, here are the main things. Pause the game, go to the help menu. The first screen shows you the combos for whichever weapon you currently have equipped. The second screen of the help screen shows you the controls. Keep in mind, yes, there actually is a lock-on button. Just read the screen, there's a lock-on button. Some people seem to think there's no way to lock on, and believe me, you can lock on. It's very helpful for fighting bosses or when there's only like one singular enemy you want to concentrate on. Here's like the most important thing, aside from learning how to parry, which will be right after this. Go into the store, buy the move Defensive Offense right away. It's just like in the select menu or the back menu if you're using the 360. There's the customize option, that's the store. Go into the skill section, buy Defensive Offense right away, or Offensive Defense, whichever one it's called. It's the second move on the list. It costs 3,000 bucks. It's one of the two cheapest moves in the game. It is also one of the most important because it's your dodge move. It is your dodge move. The dodge move is done by pressing light attack and jump at the same time. It's in the help menu once you buy the move. There are some attacks in this game that you cannot parry. They are unblockable. These attacks, enemies will flash yellow. This means it's like a grab or some other type of unblockable move. You cannot block yellow moves. You can parry pretty much every other move, though. Not all moves are parry counterable, but any move where the enemy flashes red or they glow orange, you can parry. So I want to clarify how the parry move works. It's more like a fighting game input. You are tilting the left stick in the direction of an incoming attack and simultaneously pressing the light attack button. You cannot do it if you press them at different times. If you are just running towards the direction of an attacking enemy and also you hit light attack after the fact that you started running, that is not a parry move. It is a simultaneous press of both. And the direction that you press is relative to the camera, so like right here, I press the stick to the right, because he is to the right of Raiden! So the parry move is also contextual in that you can only do the parry move when there's an incoming attack, and no, this isn't annoying. It works perfectly fine, in fact. Most people just get the parry move messed up because while reading the tutorial here, they think that they either have to click in the left stick or they can press the two inputs at different times. And that move I performed is a parry counter. Parry counters are done simply by not parrying a move until it's about to hit you. The timing is different depending on the difficulty mode. On hard mode and up, the amount of frames where you can actually perform a parry counter is cut in half. Parry counter can also stun enemies. Stronger enemies may have to be parry countered multiple times before they're dizzied, though. I also mentioned this in the first video, but I'll explain it again. Whenever you're fighting an enemy, and the game goes into slow motion with a blue tint on the screen, like this, that is a cue to go into blade mode, because while in slow motion, blade mode gains additional cutting strength, so that you can cut through special objects and enemies. Because in normal time, blade mode will not have the strength to do that. This is what the Ray fight is trying to teach you, but a lot of people seem to miss this. But anytime you parry Ray or damage his legs enough, the game will go into slow motion and tell you, hey, slow motion, go into blade mode. Anytime you manage to counter parry and also dizzy an enemy, you will also go into slow motion. And also certain attacks, normal attacks that Raiden has, will cause slow motion. These are usually attacks that finish your combo, but a couple other attacks can do this. On the note of parrying again, a single parry will only block one attack. So like with Sam, who attacks multiple times in a row, you have to do the parry motion for each hit of his combo. However, if you, say, parry the first attack, but then you miss the timing for parrying his second attack, and you take a hit, you can still parry while taking damage. So then you can block his third and fourth hit if you get the timing right. Here are a few things you should know about this game aside from how to parry. So, you know, you have a whole bunch of moves for all the weapons you get in this game. But you might not know what the actual combos are. But there is a way to figure out what your combos are. In the pause menu, just go to help. and whatever weapon you have currently equipped, it'll list the moves for it. Also, if you buy a new move from the store, it'll be listed here with the word new next to it, to make it a little easier to find. Another thing is, let's talk about blade mode a little. First of all, this is going to depend a little bit on what controller. Well, okay, let's talk about this first. In the options, here's some things that are helpful. 1. Turn the camera sensitivity for both vertical and horizontal all the way up. I find that to be pretty helpful, because otherwise it's a little sluggish moving it around if it's set to 5 or something. So there's controller types. This is basically going to be preference. I'm using C for my PS3 controller. The PC version will probably be using 360 inputs. So type A might be better for that maybe, because it has better triggers. But either way, let's talk about the controls for blade mode. Because you have a button to go into blade mode. You're just holding down that button. Here are the controls for blade mode. When you're in blade mode, square or X on the 360 does randomly angled horizontal cuts. Triangle or Y on the 360 does random vertical cuts. If you want to be precise with blade mode, and believe me, there are a couple of boss fights later in this game that actually do require you to be precise, so you can't just be mashing random angles. You're using, at least for me, the right stick. When you're rolling the right stick around, you change the angle. To do a cut, you just let go of the stick. You do not, to do a horizontal cut, you do not move the stick horizontally across the whole thing. So if I want to do left cut, I'm moving the stick to the right and then I just let go. It just flicks back to center. However, there are other ways to do this. If you don't like doing the default flick method. Like I said, there are different controller options. So you could switch it over to, say, because that by default, blade mode is, the angle of blade mode is done with the right stick. But I mean, you could change it so to type B or type D, I think, where blade mode, the angle of the blade, is controlled with the left stick. And then, instead of flicking, you can press square and you will swing whatever angle you're currently holding the stick in. So if that is what you like more than flicking, which I'm sure a fair amount of people will, you can do that. Something else about blade mode. This is something a lot of people don't seem to realize, and it's kind of important. One, for just being more accurate with your cuts, especially if something isn't right in the center of your screen, and also for some boss fights later on. So whatever stick you have, I like using the right stick for changing the angle of the cut. Whatever stick is not used for changing the angle moves the camera. It moves the camera, because sometimes it'll be something over here or up a little, and you'll need to cut that part instead of just in the center. So keep in mind you can move the camera, because this is kind of really helpful for some boss fights later on. And also it's kind of helpful in general for stuff that's off to the side that you want to cut. Something else, when you're in blade mode, whatever stick you are using to move the camera, click the stick in, hold it in, move it around. Whoa, you can walk in blade mode now. This isn't really needed, but it can be helpful if you knock some dude far away and you want to get over there and cut his spine out and eat his spine. So that's blade mode. That's what you need to know about blade mode, for the most part. There's some other stuff I'll talk about in a second. So one of the main things you can do with blade mode in this game is called Zangetsu. This is how, the main way of healing yourself. But first of all, something people don't seem to realize, yes, there actually is a lock-on button in this game. For my control setup, it's R2. It might be different, just look at your control settings, it'll say which button is lock-on. But see, I'm locking on to a guy. If there are multiple targets, you can flick left and right on the right stick to switch between whatever target you want to lock on to. So in blade mode, see that red box? See how I hover over it? You get the crosshair and it goes beep. Cut through that. Snatch their spine. This is a Zangetsu. Zangetsus completely restore your health and your blade mode meter. Zangetsus are pretty cool. Also, whenever an enemy is stunned, like, there are a couple ways to do this. If you attack them a whole lot without stopping, or if you get a successful parry counter on them. Some enemies might need multiple parry counters. But if you get them dizzy with the stars on top over their heads, and your blade mode meter is full, you can press those two buttons together. The button prompt will appear. That's an execution move. These allow you to instantly kill an enemy in some kind of cool fashion, and also sets them up for a really easy Zangetsu. So when you're beating stuff up, and you can also collect stuff to get this, you're getting BP, which is just the money in this game. In the select menu, or the back menu, or whatever, you know, there's this customize option. This is your store, you can go to it any time, but when you leave the store, you go back to wherever your last autosave was, so keep that in mind. It's generally not a problem, but... So, when you're buying things, at the very beginning of the game, here's something very important. If you're looking at stuff, and you're looking at skills, the very first two moves, also the cheapest moves in the game that you'll almost definitely be able to afford, like almost right away. These are essential moves, especially the second one. See how it's called defensive offense? Read the description. It kinda sounds like it's a dodge move, because it is. Hello, buy the dodge move, please. Buy it right away. Don't think you're being smart by trying to skip it and save up for the more expensive stuff right away. Just buy this at least right away. Aerial Parry 2 is pretty good, but not nearly as essential as defensive offense. And you'll see why. So defensive offense, again, you can look at the help menu, see what buttons you press for this. It's light attack and the jump button, so on the PS3 it's square and X at the same time. Normally, this is just a backwards dodge. It's also an attack. See how he's swinging the sword? This also counts as an attack. But you can also press a direction to either dodge forward or to the side. This move has invincibility frames, so the very beginning of your dodge, you can actually pass straight through attacks. Another control thing you should know. Sub-weapons are a little clunky in this game. They could have been implemented better. But here, you're holding the button down to aim, but this is really slow, and you're just going to get hit if you do this in combat. Don't hold down the button for any sub-weapon. If you want to instantly use it, just tap the sub-weapon button. And you'll instantly use it. I mean, this works for... You know, you can just instantly throw a grenade instead of holding it out and then very slowly aiming with it. Just tap the sub-weapon button. Other things people seem to miss, when you're looking for the collectible arms in this game, you find those by going into AR mode. It'll point it out very far, even if they're kind of far away, the soldiers that have the special arms to collect. Because AR mode will always have like a glowing diamond over them, and when you get close, their arm will have like a glowing light green line on it. The part that is like glowing bright whitish green, that is the part you want to cut through to safely collect the arm. And then for more advanced things with this combat, you know, like I said, the dodge move has invincibility frames, but it also does some neat stuff. It carries over a mechanic from Bayonetta. There's this thing called dodge offset. So, say you have, like, the strong, hard, strong combo here. But if you were to, say, get 2 hits in and then you had a parry or something, when you start attacking again, your whole combo has reset. Like, it's kind of messed up with your flow, you have to start with strong and then go back to weak again, you know, all that stuff. Your combo resets. With the dodge move, you can carry your combos. So, you know, if I do strong, weak, and then dodge, I can still press strong to finish off my combo. Your moves can be carried through an infinite amount of dodges. It doesn't matter how many times you dodge or how long for. As long as you press the next button in the combo after you come out of the dodge, you will not have lost your place. This becomes really handy. It can make things look a lot cooler. It also just kind of generally increases, just makes the flow of the combat feel even better. There's also another thing called blade canceling. This is probably the most technical thing in the game, I suppose. So, there's some moves in this game that have a recovery time. So, like, see this move here? When he's swinging that sword at the end of the move, I'm pressing a ton of buttons, and he has that little animation that he has to get out of before he can attack again. So these cooldown animations in some of your moves leave you open for getting hit, and also kind of slow you down a little. But Blade mode, most moves you have, you can instantly go into Blade mode. So instead, just tap Blade mode, and then you're out of the recovery animation for your move. This allows you to attack quicker and react faster. It also looks neat. Keep in mind, not all moves can be blade cancelled out of, because the people who made this game thought of this. Some moves that could be like heavily exploited, if you could blade cancel out of them immediately, still have a little bit of a downtime in them before you can actually cancel out of them. So keep this in mind, you'll have to experiment a little bit, but blade canceling is a really cool thing.